Okay, this video is on the Pythagorean Theorem. This is something that you've already looked at, and a lot of you have already asked me questions about it. But essentially, the Pythagorean Theorem talks about right triangles. Okay, and we know it's a right triangle if it has a box in the corner, and that box in the corner means that it's representing 90 degrees. So your title for this is going to be Pythagorean Theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem basically tells us that if we have two sides of a right triangle, we can calculate the other side. Okay? So we call these two sides that border the right angle legs, and we call the slanted side the hypotenuse. Okay? So that's our hypotenuse. And we use a formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared to represent that. So my legs are a and b, and my hypotenuse is c. Okay? So the hypotenuse is always across from that right angle. So when we're using this equation, sometimes we're given different values. So let's look at this triangle right here. Let's say that this side's 6, this side's 8, and we want to know what the hypotenuse is. And let's call these all inches here. So I would substitute in my a and my b. Doesn't matter which one is which for that. So 8 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. So here I'm solving for the hypotenuse. 8 squared gives me 64. 6 squared gives me 36 equals c squared. So now I can go ahead and I can add my 64 and my 36 to get 100 equals c squared. So if you think back to when we were talking about algebra, the opposite of squaring something is taking the square root of it. So we're going to take the square root of both sides here. When we do that, we get c equals 10. Okay, so that means that this side is 10 inches. We're also going to look at an example where what we have is we have the diagonal, and we have one side, but we do not have the other side. So we'll call that my B that I'm looking for. Call the 4 inches A, the unknown side B, and the hypotenuse my C, or my 5. Okay, let's substitute values in. A is 4, so 4 squared plus B squared equals C squared, and my C is 5, so I'll put 5 squared in there. So 4 squared gives me 16 plus b squared equals 25. Okay, if I want to solve for my b, I need to get rid of the 16, and because I do it to one side, I also have to do it to the other side. I'm left with b squared equals, and when I subtract here, I get 9. Now I'm not done yet because my b is squared. If I take the square root of it, and take the square root of 9, because I have to do the same thing to both sides, I get b equals 3. And inches, because that's what I was working. So the handout you're going to work on with this gives you several examples where you're going to find the missing side. You're going to want to put your algebra into use. It also gives you some practical applications with some diagrams to guide you through there. So please work through this, and we'll talk about it some more on Monday.